Welcome to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm Stephen Conway. Jeremy is off this week, but joining us is a good friend of the show and one of the top minds out there in the world when it comes to Japanese wrestling, Joshi wrestling, and it's a great week to have him here. Scott Edwards joining us on the show, host of the 5-Star Joshi Show, Stardom Road, and anywhere else that you want to go to find excellent information about these things. So, Scott, thank you so much for joining me this week.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invite. Pretty big week for me, obviously, with the big Stardom show coming up this weekend. Kind of the official start of Golden Week in Japan as well, which is always an exciting week if you're a Japanese wrestling fan, because it feels like there is a show every single day for you to check out. So happy to be here and to get us ready for that, I guess.
We are going to be talking a lot about that. We're going to be discussing Jake Lee making his presence known in New Japan Pro Wrestling and what that might lead to. We'll look at 2 title matches coming up Saturday in Hiroshima, and then the big reason we have Scott here, All-Star Grand Queendom is coming up, and there's some business news regarding New Japan and its sibling company Stardom as well. So we'll talk about all that and how it might affect both companies. So lots to get into, and we'll go right into some of the. Oh, hi, Colin. I'm glad you're here. Colin's watching live. Much appreciated. We're going to get into these 2 shows they had recently at Korakuen Hall. So this is the Road to Tontaku. We're going through the house shows basically on the way to a pair of big shows coming up next week in Fukuoka. But they threw in these 2 here at Korakuen Hall in Tokyo. They were Monday and Tuesday. They did not have the sexiest lineups that New Japan's ever put together, and the attendance reflected that. It was down. It was just over 800 on one day, not quite 900 the next. So this did not pack the building. And when you look at the things on paper, I can kind of understand why. It looked like a hell of a lot of multi-person, leave your T-shirt on preview tags that New Japan does not excel in. I mean, if you want to see a difference between New Japan and Stardom, one does preview tags really well, the other's New Japan. And what we have here is just what looked like a lot of filler. And they did manage to throw a couple of angles into them. So we're going to go over those here first. On the biggest one is on April 23rd, they had a 5-match series of singles. It wasn't officially 3 out of 5, but that's what it is, right? Between the Bullet Club, the War Dogs, and Los Ingobernables. So what they did was something very basic in this best of 5 series. The Gedo started off against Yota Tsuji, and I loved this. Gedo tried to use the brass knuckles. Tsuji ducked, hit the ropes, hit the Gene Blast spear, told the referee to ring the bell. Referee rang the bell. He pinned Gedo in 5 seconds.
Great.
No notes. 5 stars. Yeah, 5 stars there for me. That's exactly what that should have been. Gedo, of course, is a New Japan booker. Always used himself to put people over. Moved on through the tournament, and the rest of it went about how you would kind of think. Gabe Kidd defeated Bushi. Yep, that's how that's going to go. And you figure it's going to come down to the last match, which is Hiromu and David Finlay. Now, that led to something interesting as you watch this. My dog's going to bark his face off at anybody that walks past the house. Sorry about that if you hear it in the background. After that, Scott, we had we had Shingo Takagi and Clark Connors. So Clark Connors, big underdog there. Shingo's the never openweight champion. Then we were going to have Naito versus Drilla Maloney. Okay, again, the LIJ guy is a heavy favorite. So at this point, you thought, well, there's going to be an upset in one of these 2,
right?
And Clark Connors seemed like a perfectly fine wrestler. I like Clark's work a lot, but he seemed like an odd choice to beat Shingo because Shingo's already going to wrestle Gabe Kidd for the title. So I just thought, and then Shingo went ahead and beat him, and I thought, my God, Drilla Maloney is going to beat Tetsuya Naito. He has to somehow. And I didn't know how. Like I wondered if it was going to be a thing where maybe Finlay was going to whack him with a shillelagh leading into the Hiromu match or something like that. Well, I have to admit, I did not see Jake Lee coming from Pro Wrestling Noah. And Jake Lee slides into the ring, clobbers Naito with the referee distracted, leads to Drill Maloney hitting the Drillakilla on Naito, who's taken enough damage to his neck, by the way. But nevertheless, that Drillakilla move looks fantastic. And he does do it about as safely as he can because he's that strong. But looks devastating as hell. I'm a big fan of the move. At the same time, I kind of watch it through fingers, just worried about the guys. But in the end, Drill Maloney pinned Tetsuya Naito. Jake Lee beats the living snot out of Naito, both after the match and then before going to the back. And it was 2-on-2. Finlay, as you can imagine, got the win on Hiromu Takahashi because the whole thing is to start building Finlay up again. After taking a loss from Nemeth, we're building David Finlay up. So a lot to take in here. Oh, let's start with Jake Lee. Now, this is a Pro Wrestling Noah guy. This feels like an angle maybe leading to the All Together show of interpromotional match there, perhaps. Maybe something for Dominion or both. I mean, you don't have to end it in one match. But
sure.
When you saw Jake Lee slide in, what were your thoughts, Scott, when on this one?
My first thought was he finally got what he wanted. He's only wanted to do something in New Japan for a year and a half now. So obviously, congrats to him, I guess. It was really odd. Is that? I think that was like my first thought. I was like, this feels very out of nowhere. And I know like David Finlay was teasing like this assassin thing. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it was going to be Jake Lee of the good-looking guys in Pro Wrestling Noah, but here he is. So that is the decision that they made. It's something interesting for Naito while he seemingly builds himself back up, presumably for Jon Moxley, whether that be Dominion or Forbidden Door or something. I think that's kind of where everyone expects this to go. So we'll see. My first thought as well was All Together. I feel like a kind of a special match to toss on that show. I like the card that they've already put together, but it does feel like it's missing some sort of singles match. And Jake Lee, while I'm not his biggest fan, is a top star in Pro Wrestling Noah, and Naito is the top star in Japan, not just New Japan. So a singles match on a big show is never going to hurt from Tetsuya Naito. So that was kind of my thinking at that. I'm intrigued in how the tag match goes this weekend. I will give them that. They have my interest for that now.
What Scott's referring to is in Hiroshima, there will be a 5-on-5 elimination match between LIJ and the War Dogs. And Geto has been removed from that match and replaced with Jake Lee. It was originally announced with Geto, obviously before we knew Jake was going to do the sneak attack. Geto knew. We didn't. And since then, Finlay's just said, well, you're going to be with us and trying to take out Naito. And that's basically all of his post-match comments, where Jake Lee did come back to the cameras afterwards, and he just said, I'm here to beat up Tetsuya Naito. That's what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to do. Go after the top dog, right, with the champion over in the United States. So, again, we'll see where this goes. It does feel like an altogether match, but it's intriguing in a way. They've made a point of Jake Lee keeping the GLG, the good-looking guy's shirt, with him. He's not putting on a War Dog shirt. It's not a jump. Yeah. He's not leaving one for the other. It looks like this is just an alliance of convenience. Both of them hate Tetsuya Naito, so let's all beat up Naito together type of thing. Doesn't feel like Lee is joining the War Dogs or leaving Noah or leaving GLG. This is a freelance operation for him. So that's why it kind of feels more like an all-together thing. Fresh matches, I'm all in favor of. By gosh, we haven't had enough of those in New Japan lately. So if they want to have Naito and Lee go at it, kind of down to see it. It'd be interesting. I know some people don't like Lee's odd charisma. I've seen him compared to Sonata, which I don't think is fair to Lee. I think he's more interesting than Sonata. Although Sonata may be a better wrestler. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that comparison?
I definitely prefer Sonata as a wrestler, but I do think that, when talking about Lee, it always creates conversation, and that's a good thing. Like whether people like him or don't like him, he does create conversation. And I thought his attack was actually really well done. Like he seemed vicious. He just seemed like a bigger deal than I think I would expect a Jake Lee in New Japan moment to feel. So that's a good thing. And hopefully, he can use it as momentum for himself. Listen, he's not beating Tetsuya Naito. We know that. But anything for him in a big match against the biggest star in Japan, that's a good thing for him. He's not the biggest star in Noah, but he is one of the more known names outside of New Japan. So that alone makes it an interesting match.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how that goes. Jeremy, who is watching, he's not able to join us, but he's watching, and he had this comment. I'm going to bring it back up. It says, "Wish I could be there." Yeah, us do. We miss you. But I wonder if Naito and Moxley face off at New Japan's Seoul show in July before the G1. Possibly. There are a lot of shows coming up where this could possibly happen. Dominion, Forbidden Door, Seoul. I mean, there are a lot of ways they can make this happen, and either get the belt back to Naito if they want, or go a different route. They've got it. Well, we're going to talk about this as we go on. They have to come up with a compelling champion coming out of G1, because the champion during G1 doesn't usually win G1.
Right.
So they need to have a compelling champion to be in the main event, and then the winner of G1 to be in the main event. And I feel strongly at this point, and this could change over the next couple months, I feel strongly at this point, one of those two men is Tetsuya Naito.
You would think so, yeah.
Because someone's got to sell the damn tickets. And right now in New Japan, there is visible, tangible evidence that what moves the needle on New Japan attendance is Tetsuya Naito in a major title match. Nothing else really does at the moment. Everything else is kind of on its baseline where it's going to be. And that's not terrible. I'm not saying that, but Naito moves that needle. So I've got to think that he's going to be there. So they got to get Naito either into that championship slot again so that somebody can win G1 and challenge him, or he's absolutely the number one guy to win the G1 again, which is fine. You can do that, but it has to be somebody compelling in there with him as champion. To me, there aren't a ton of those people right now.
Yeah.
We're in this little spot where we don't have a ton of people that can just sell tickets at the Dome. Naito Moxley too might be able to do it. So if somehow Moxley survives this gauntlet of title challengers, he might go all the way to January, perhaps. I'm just saying, but it's tricky. It's tricky.
It's an interesting time in New Japan in that and we'll kind of talk about it when we get to Stardom as well, because I do have many thoughts on that show. But it should be about, selling tickets, but also trying to make new stars. And Naito is the most important part, I think, in doing both of those. Yeah. It's not just, obviously, he's going to be the guy to sell tickets, but him losing to someone also feels like the way to make stars. So that'll be the most interesting story for New Japan moving forward. Obviously, Moxley has excited people by winning, but I don't see him being able to hold it all the way until here's the thing. I don't think you can have Naito win another G1. I'd rather him just be champion, because I feel like the G1 needs to be used this year to make someone else.
I agree with you. And I think the odds are stacked against Moxley going all the way until January with the title. I think he'll probably be at the next Wrestle Kingdom, but
I think so too.
There will be chunks when he's back in AEW. He's not going to be gone forever and all that. So the question is when. Forbidden Door makes an awful lot of sense. But both AEW and New Japan are very careful with Moxley losses.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Tony Khan, and I don't know. Again, we could all speculate, but
he's lost more in AEW than he has in New Japan.
That's true. That is true. So, the question is, do they want to bring him out and have another loss in front of the AEW fans? Tony seems less averse to that. When you can do it at Dominion, or you can do it at a New Japan show where the AEW fans kind of have to seek it out. So
Dominion feels like the best choice. It feels like the obvious choice, because Forbidden Door to me, I don't know. I've already seen Moxley and Naito. Does that need to be the main event for that show? I don't necessarily think so. I've seen it, and it hasn't happened in Japan. That's a different atmosphere. That's something that I think Jon Moxley, truthfully, would prefer to experience. If that's the funny thing about Mox is that, like, if you asked him, he'd probably be in Japan as much as possible. If you asked him, he'd probably love to, put like a Shota Umino over or something like that. But he's not the one making the decisions at the end of the day. So.
And Jeremy mentions trying to think of what show Moxley can drop the title in New Japan after Forbidden Door. It doesn't make sense to put the belt on him on an AEW show that's not for New Japan fans. Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean that would be the deadline, so to speak. So if that doesn't happen, then I think the Moxley Shota Umino match, we've mentioned it for weeks on here, is an inevitability. That the master and the student have to face off eventually.
It's that resurgence, right?
It could be. I mean,
I think they announced that.
Well, yeah, resurgence. It'll be the winner of that one, but I mean, there will be another one there. Where Shota beats him. Pardon.
I absolutely agree. I would love that if Shota is not going to be in the world title picture. I would love that to be Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah,
because listen, you're not going to have the Okadas and the Ospreys to do these big special matches while you also have a world title match anymore. Mm-hmm. So a Jon Moxley versus Shota Umino match might be your best bet for a big special match at this current stage of New Japan.
All right, let's take a look at what else happened on here on these shows. What you mostly got on the undercards here were build up for Best of the Super Juniors. And what I mean about that is in the early matches on the card, almost every match was won by someone who was entering the Super Junior tournament. And that's just to get you used to seeing these guys, their hands raised. So Kosei Fujita, Taiji Ishimori all got wins over Young Lions in the preview tags. We also saw a never openweight 6-man tag team title match. That was Hiroshi Tanahashi, Oleg Boltin, and Toru Yano. They got the win over House of Torture, which was Yujiro, Evil, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. It was their first title defense. They won the title over in Taiwan. And they won it the same way they won the title in the first place. They won their defense the same way. Boltin with the Kamikaze and Tanahashi with a high fly flow. And that came after a series of low blows that saw both teams racking each other basically as the baby faces fought fire with fire. It was definitely a cup check fest there at the end, leading to the babyface victory. But just more evidence that Oleg is more than the usual young lion. It might not even be a young lion anymore.
Yeah, it feels like he's kind of graduating now.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. How long would you take to just run with him? Obviously, he has a title now, but this guy screams special to me. Mm-hmm. And he's obviously older. He's 30 years old. So he's not, a young 25-year-old. It feels like the time is soon. Soon to just run with him. Because what do you have to lose? He just is a unique athlete that I feel like is going to be pretty special for New Japan moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be long. He never did go on excursion, but then fair enough, neither did Kosei Fujita, really. He never really left. So they're doing that differently now. Oscar Loibe and Nakashima are on a traditional excursion over to Rev Pro, but those guys aren't. So they could do something. With Boltin, I'm intrigued because what do you do with him? He doesn't have Yota Tsuji's outgoing charisma, so to speak. So he's a little bit more. Jeremy has speculated that he would be a good Bullet Club guy someday, for him to just turn heel and be that Terminator, like, doesn't have to emote a ton, just go in and destroy. Yeah. That might be the way to do it, considering his personality, which isn't bad. Like when you watch him on social media, he's big smile on his face, seems a little bit more outgoing. In wrestling, he very much has that amateur style Olympic wrestling of stoic, don't betray nothing, don't do the big emotions, and that's something you might have to overcome to be a big time babyface. Might work a little bit better on the heel side down the road.
Yeah. It's funny. I look at Oleg and I look at like him being like a Lesnar-like figure in the New Japan world. You get him a manager. Have him be heel. I think heel is definitely the right way to go. As just like this destroyer that needs to be, you need to overcome. I don't know. I just like the guy a lot. I've liked him since he pretty much debuted. He's just so natural in the ring that it almost feels like no matter what his character work ends up doing, he's gonna be successful, because at the end of the day, in New Japan, what works the best or what goes a long way is the wrestling. So, you put him in there with like an Ishii for one match, and he beats Ishii in like the G1 or something, and just like that, it's like, okay, time to pay attention to this guy.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that all the way through the summer, I think, is like who's going to be in the G1, and then how do you position people coming out of it. So with that in mind, we also had another show at Korakuen that we're going to get to, and that was from April 22nd. That was the Monday show. And the main event in this one was a faction warfare match. So this was a thing where two guys start, they have a singles match. If it goes to the time limit, both guys are eliminated. Then it's King of the Mountain. Winner stays on, new guy comes in until we're done. This was the United Empire in there against just 5 guys. So for weeks and weeks, they've been showing us United Empire's cracks, so to speak. Great O'Khan isn't real happy with the run of results they've had since Will Ospreay left. How could they be happy? Jeff Cobb has expressed reservations. Well, the story they told is that TJP, who declared himself captain, came through for his troops on Monday. He ended up winning the gauntlet match. And I thought it was interesting, Scott, the way they did this, because the two people that expressed reservations, Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb, didn't beat anybody. They both went to 10-minute draws with their guys and were eliminated along with Uemura. So they did a King of Pro Wrestling match preview there. It was Great O'Khan and Uemura. 10-minute draw, both out. Jeff Cobb and Sonata, 10-minute draw, both out. And Venkin mentions, how can you be happy without Ospreay? I'm certainly not. I miss the dude. But yeah, fair enough. So United Empire's in a little bit of disarray. Well, then Doki goes on a bit of a run for just 5 guys. Akira does his thing. So in the end, TJP manages to get the win over Doki, and they send in Taichi. He beats Taichi also. And so TJP is the guy that comes through, whereas the doubters didn't. And they seem to acknowledge that. So after the match, both Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb applauding. Everybody's happy. Everybody's got the crowns up. There was even a shout out to Hanare, just a United Empire happy ending. And the phraseology they used was, United Empire is a team full of leaders, but only one captain. And right now they are behind TJP. That's a big drop off from Will Ospreay to TJP. I mean, as far as box office appeal goes, TJP is a talented wrestler. He has terrific matches.
Been around forever, though.
It's interesting that they have decided to go this way. I kind of thought that this might be some sort, and it might still go this direction eventually, where they kick him out, he turns on them because it's not as united as he was hoping, and that could still go on. But for right now, everybody's it's all kumbaya. We're all rolling in puppies and unicorns over in United Empire.
Yeah, it's
there's a choice for you.
For me, it's like, who would be the leader? And to me, it always felt like the who should be the next leader of United Empire isn't currently employed by United Empire. That makes sense. Like, I feel like a natural fit is not in that group right now, because I don't see them pushing any of these guys as main event stars.
Cobb would be about the only one,
right? And I haven't seen them change their mind on him yet. So
no, I agree with you.
He's back in the TV title picture, So don't get me started about Zach, but that's a different conversation.
Well,
I don't know. So I guess like doing this captain thing's fine, especially TJP going into is he in the best Super Juniors? I actually have no idea.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
He is. I know he went to open weight, so I drew a blank there. I was like, wait a minute. And I'm going to assume he's probably going to do the G1 too. That's why he did the open weight thing.
So he'll probably do the El Phantasmo thing from a few years ago.
So it'll be interesting if the story ultimately ends up being like them finding another guy, and I think that's always interesting as well. But I have no idea what to think. I really don't, because like, are you happy with TJP as one of the 5 faction leaders in New Japan for the time being? Of course, he's the captain, but
Yeah, the captain. Yeah, I mean, boy, it just feels like we're not done with this story yet. I don't necessarily feel like we're just going forward, and by the time we get to the G1, everyone's still happy saying, TJP is first among equals.
Sure.
I'm not convinced that's where this is all headed.
It feels like it's good. Like I feel like it's going to be someone that no one expects. That's kind of how I feel about it. And this is part of the story to get there, which
yes,
I wouldn't mind.
Definitely. Yeah. Let's leave some of these comments because there's some Dunstan, and we're going to get to some of your questions, Dunstan, here in a little bit. But he says Drew, Sheamus, and Go Shiozaki are the only options for the group.
I would not get my hopes up for any of them.
I would not either. I appreciate that kind of optimism, though. And USVA guy, hey, never underestimate the power of TJP's culture in Japan. Is he really over in Japan then? Is that a big thing? Okay, maybe he is. But Colin says he would make Hanare the new leader. I know he can't always be in Japan, though. Yeah, true, but he can be there quite a bit, and he's one of the mainstays.
Sheamus would have fit, by the way. I just want to say that. Yeah. Sheamus wears green already.
Sheamus would have been an interesting choice, but there it is.
Hanare. I forgot Hanare existed.
And I look at some of the people that have just recently left and all that. And I don't really see anybody else. Like
I have one Swerve kind of pick, not Swerve Strickland.
That would be a major get.
What about, and no one may expect this, and maybe everyone will disagree, but what about a returning Ryohei Oiwa?
Okay, just have him do something like that, and that would be his return.
It would be different, and I love Oiwa. I think he's going to be special. I don't know. He also wears some green sometimes, if that matters. I was trying to throw things in there, but it's like, who can do it? Who can be a leader? I don't know what Oiwa's charisma will be or character will be when he comes back to a New Japan ring, but I'm just throwing people out there at this point because, again, I don't think it's going to be TJP by the end of 2024.
Denison says the left field one would be Nakajima if they kick out. If they kick out, they do a kick out a member angle.
Yeah, he kind of Nakajima.
Yeah, he kind of has, and that's interesting. I was also looking at the I'm spitballing now, but I didn't see anybody in the recent round of cuts that would fit this spot. Although I think Trevor Lee would be an outstanding New Japan wrestler, and I agree we can get him.
That'd be a great G1 wrestler.
Oh God, yeah, and I mean just as somebody that could just take in a spot and be out and have outstanding matches night after night. Just to throw this one out here, Scott, I thought, and I don't know how much of it them you saw, but that Indus Shear, those two huge guys from India, I think that could work in New Japan. Just that size, and they're not bad wrestlers, and they both have an odd kind of charisma to them, especially Veer Mahan. And Sanga's not terrible either in that department, but I just as a big bully heel team, they were even bigger than War Machine, but I mean, like when War Machine was in New Japan, it worked, and
try to capture like what the Saitos have done in All Japan almost.
Yeah, you get almost that whole. It almost always works in Japanese wrestling. The smaller Japanese nationals against the big foreign heels.
Sure.
The guys just kind of steamrolling through people until they get to those heroes who are able to squeak by them. That's about the oldest trope. Well, it is the oldest trope in Japanese wrestling. I mean, Riki Dozan against the Sharp Brothers. I mean, that's how Japanese wrestling started. So anyway, I just have names there. None of those guys would be UE leaders, but just
some people take a try on. Even.
Fresh faces that don't cost $1 zillion.
I will still, again, throw out Luke Jacobs. I think I did it last time I was on this show.
Luke,
and I'm gonna do it again here.
We've been advocating for him for a while on this one. And Benkin mentioned something to how is Chaos doing without Okada? Is there Chaos anymore? There is, but I mean but Goto is the only person, I do mean the only guy in backstage comments that even mentions Chaos anymore. Ishii is basically Hantai now. Goto mentions carrying Chaos forward. He's the only guy. Even Yoshihashi doesn't. So it's that group's kind of gone in a way right there, unless they just reform under some new leader. And that's a possibility. Maybe they could bring a new guy in and just as I'm in chaos now or something. I was advocating Shingo Takagi leaving LIJ and doing it, but that doesn't look like the direction they're headed at all. So yeah, but as you go into G1, right, let's talk a little bit about that, because as you go into G1, the first place you look are faction leaders.
Yeah.
And UE, TJP, no, not a G1 winner. No one in Chaos, really.
Not a shot.
Who is the leader of just 5 guys? I would advocate that it might be like Taichi might be a better choice than Sonata, and we've done the Sonata thing. It didn't work. And David Finlay probably isn't ripe yet, so there aren't a lot of faction leaders that are actually
evil. That's what you're telling me. It's evil.
Now, see, you're just trying to hurt me. But the
everything is evil.
If Naito goes into G1 as the champion, I would think Zack Sabre Jr. might be a real possibility.
Yeah. I think so too. And I think it would almost be the safest possibility in terms of like what I would do. It's like Zach's ready. Yeah. He's been ready for that spot. And I think if you want to put him over as, your next, he is the top international foreign wrestler for them. I think we can all agree on that. But if you want to officially do it, that's the way to do it. It can't be David Finlay. Can't. I'm sorry. It just can't be David Finlay.
It's not a never, but he's not ready yet.
No. Listen, I like David Finlay versus Hiromu the other day. I thought that was a very good match.
It was.
But he should he should get an actual chance to run with the secondary belt first before we, rush him to the top belt.
So we thought that's what they were doing with the global title, and then we got Nemeth. We got to get that off him. Right now, we're also in this very weird spot where Shingo Takagi is basically the only New Japan guy that has one of their singles titles at the moment, except I guess the TV title. But that's about it. It's Zach and Shingo, and everybody else is foreigners.
That's a choice. Wait a minute, Show.
Yeah, Show is the junior champion. Yeah.
You just
or the heavyweight, but I'm just saying,
heavyweight wise, yeah.
Nemeth has the global. Moxley has the, we're in a weird.
The handling of the global title should be documented already as what are we doing here?
I like Chris Samsa's thing that there's been some passive aggressiveness in Ghetto's booking where he's just pissed off at Bushiroad and he's just, all right, you want foreigners with belts? I'll give you foreigners with belts. So, like you want it, you got it. Here you go. You want part-timers, you want part-time foreigners with belts, the guys you think are the big stars because you watch them on Raw. Here you go. Here's Riddle. Here's Nemeth. Here's the Thank God. I'm hoping we're rid of Riddle for good, but we'll see.
I do too.
And and then Shingo has the never until Gabe takes it. Well, is Gabe taking that one, or is he taking Eddie's NJPW Strong title?
Oh, you mean the accessory?
Well,
the Japan Strong men's title. The women's title is real. The men's one is not.
I think it says we're going toward 2-belt Gabe at this point. Might be.
I'm okay with that because then you can just put them into one and get rid of one.
Exactly. I'd be fine with fewer belts. Gabe Kidd might be the most intriguing single person in New Japan for me in some ways, just because where do you go with this guy that doesn't elevate him above David Finlay? And is that the story they're trying to tell? Is he surpassing Finlay, and is that going to cause the tension between them?
I'd put them in the same block. I'd tell you that right now.
I know.
In the G1, I'd put them in the same block.
Start getting some friction in there, because I've supposed it's either going to be an overthrow because that's what Bullet Club does, or what I think might happen is Gabe gets very close to overthrowing Finlay, and Finlay turns on him and kicks him out because that pendulum's going to swing, and Gabe has the potential to be a monster babyface in New Japan.
That's what I would expect too.
And then you make Finlay the biggest asshole in the building for doing it to him. So
they've tried, and sometimes he does feel like the biggest asshole in the building. But you cut the legs out from under him when he starts to get going, and it's like, what do you want him to do?
Yep. No, I've said all along, Finlay's doing his job. He's having pretty decent promos. He's having.
You can't ask for more from him.
No, He's doing his job. It's whether the booking is.
He got rid of the dyed beard. Like what?
Yeah, that wasn't working.
He doesn't feel like the Jay White ripoff as much to me anymore. He just kind of feels like David Finlay again, which is what he should feel like.
Yeah, Dunson says I think Gabe feels like a bigger star when he's around Finlay. I kind of. Yeah, and he's spitting Tanahashi's face so he doesn't see him as a babyface. Well, not yet, certainly, but don't sleep on that idea down the road that he could be. Because remember, as far as you go, I always it is a pendulum. If you go all the way over here as a heel, when you swing back babyface, you go just as far in popularity, and it could work in his favor right there. Yeah, so that was the story there. And again, more on Monday. We kind of digressed from that a little bit, but we'll get back on point here. But to show you how far they're going with pushing Best of the Super Junior guys, Kanemaru, Fujita, Ishimori, and Hiromu all got pinfall wins on the undercard beneath that United Empire thing. So definitely trying to plant the seeds for Super Juniors. And man, I just thought it was interesting that Drilla Maloney got that win on Naito, because you could have done that with Gabe Kidd. You could have had Maloney beat Bushi, and no one would have blinked an eye. Then you could have had Gabe Kidd beat Naito with help. So you protected Naito a little bit by having the Jake Lee thing. And Gabe Kidd's going to wrestle Shingo for the title. So that's not a bad story to tell, as he beats Naito on the way to facing Shingo. Instead, they chose Drilla Maloney. I think they're trying to tell us something there, that they have plans for Maloney also.
The biggest junior in pro wrestling, Drilla Maloney.
Probably is. Yeah, he probably is.
Remember
they passed off Shingo as a junior for a little while, remember?
That's true. And I listen, I'm grateful for that. Some amazing matches because of that. But
yeah, he and Ishimori have a great one. Yeah.
But I remember looking at Shingo when he became the world champion. I was like, how was this man a junior? I mean, he was a junior size when he's been Dragon Gate, but when he went to New Japan, he was not really ever a junior size.
No. All right. So let's talk Stardom here, Scott. That's really why we'd be foolish to have you on here and not talk about it. We're one of the foremost experts on this. A couple of things going on. Most importantly, All-Star Grand Queendom in Yokohama coming up this weekend. So this is a very mixed bag of a card, and I know you've talked about this up and down, but we're going to be talking about it here. There's a flat-out dream match on this card. Can't wait for it. Dying for it. Aching for it. There's a couple matches on here that I don't know what the hell we're doing. So let's get into this. It's not in the big arena, though. It's in a smaller building than last year, correct?
Yeah, it's not in Yokohama Arena. It's in the I believe new Yokohama Buntai, which is still a pretty huge building. Tickets are not selling great based off of the website, which isn't ideal, but it's kind of what you get when you book a card like this. Not a shot at the card itself. It's how they book. I'll get to it. I'm like a teapot. I'm gonna I'm gonna burst eventually. I've been talking about this a lot. Listen, poster's great, talent's great.
There it is.
I have no doubt in this talented roster. I want everyone to know that. But I do have a lot of doubt elsewhere. And I'll just say I would have booked this card very differently, because I've had this. I personally, when All-Star Grand Queendom was announced and when Micah won the world title, before all the things that happened, I said to myself, the obvious main event for this show is Micah versus Tam. Simple. Done. That's the biggest match, because Tam is your biggest star.
And it's unfinished business. Tam held the title. They had to take it away. There's so many reasons that should be the main event here.
It is. People won't like this. It is what Rossi has done for every big show. He has put Tam in that main event against Julia every time. But, guess what? You don't have Julia now. So you have Micah. You have Micah's world champion. It just made too much sense. Instead, like you said, we have a mixed bag. Some really great matches still on this show, though, and I think everyone should still check it out, because if I know one thing about this show, the roster is going to deliver the best that they can.
So let's take a look at what I think is the best, what I think everybody thinks is the big match. So we have the main event here, or not a main. To me, it's the main event. It's not the main event. To me, it's the main event. The IWGP Women's Champion Mayu Iwatani, the icon of Stardom, one of the greatest. Joshi's one of the great female wrestlers of all time, one of the great wrestlers, period, of this generation, against Sari, who is just someone who is ultra talented. They're barring an early injury in this match, in a year full of match of the year candidates in the first 4 months, this is going to be on the list.
I had a guest on this show this week, which is live 5-Star Joshi show. You can listen to my full preview. It was Adriana, and she said, and I quote, Ospreay versus Danielson was for the boys. Mayu Iwatani versus Sari is for the men.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's perfectly said. Listen, this is the best versus the best. Plain and simple. That is what this match is. The title doesn't matter. Hell, the finish doesn't matter. This is 4 years in the making. This match was supposed to happen 4 years ago for the World of Stardom Championship. Then Sari signed with WWE. She took a year to actually get to WWE, and then we know how that went.
Sean.
She's been back since May last year, and I firmly believe she's been the best wrestler in terms of production. Like, every match that Sari has, must-see type stuff. And now she's wrestling who I find to be, who is my favorite wrestler of all time. These are my two favorite wrestlers in the world, everybody. Okay. You can imagine my excitement for this match. It is, like you said, it is a dream match. It is the best. It's the best versus the best. This is the pinnacle of women's wrestling. I'll tell you that right now. This is it. It isn't the main event because, well, it might have been higher on the card one day earlier, but you know, certain press conference happened, might have been moved down a little bit. But you know,
we'll talk about that too.
I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, this should just be absolutely fantastic. It's an interesting one. Now, you see, I think Iwatani retains. I don't see them putting this title on Sari right now just because of the contract situation, etc. Right? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I think there is a 0% chance Sari wins this match. And I don't listen. I think this match has been planned for months. Truthfully, I think this has been the plan, and because it was the biggest match last year, was Mercedes Moné versus Mayu. This was the natural follow-up for this title on the biggest platform Stardom has.
Yeah.
Before a certain press conference, I thought there was no chance Sari was winning this. Now, the difficulty is booking. Sari doesn't lose much. Mayu Iwatani obviously isn't going to lose. And I'm pretty sure the time limit is 60 minutes based off of the IWGP rules. I would simply lie and just say it's 30 minutes for this match if Sari's not willing to lose. But I think Mayu wins straight up. I truly do. I think they have a great match. I think they're determined to have a great match. And, you know, Sari has already said publicly she wants this to be a match that's remembered for a very long time. So I think she knows that in her heart. You know, she's not someone that will be like, I'm absolutely not losing. I've watched her get pinned multiple times this past year. It's got to be the right situation. This feels like the right situation. And you can always do a rematch down the line.
Let's get to some of these comments right here. And Dunston's just saying that it's going to slap. Vinkin's saying that, let's face it, this should be the main event. All these stipulations of the world title match just to make it seem bigger. We'll get to that. But you're right. Colin says it should be main eventing the show. He also says that he hopes that Taro Okada can work his magic, such as it is, and have Sari in the 5-star Grand Prix. That's what Dunston hopes. But we have a couple of people here who think it could go to a time limit draw. Venkin thinks could go to they might go an hour. Maybe they'll just do that. If you,
I don't think they're going to wrestle an hour.
Yeah,
because I think that main event is going to be so long naturally, and they don't want to do that twice. They could do a double knockout. Stardom has never been afraid to do a double knockout in a match. That's how the Shuri Utami match ended. That's obviously has all the praise in the world, and rightfully so. So there's always a possibility. The way I see this match, one, it's the first time I've ever felt the IWGP Women's Title match should be the main event of a Stardom show. Yeah. First time ever. I've always been world title. We live in a different world now. This is the top match. And my other feeling is if you want to watch this show, this is the reason to watch this show.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. It's this match. Absolutely. And that's me talking these two up because I absolutely love these two, but this really is worth the price of admission.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You mentioned that she had a 0% chance of winning the title, but it probably went all the way over into the negatives when it came out that she's going to be part of the first Marigold show. That's Rossy Ogawa's new promotion. And I can't imagine Stardom had to love the idea of perhaps Sareee losing before she goes and does a big match for Marigold right out of the gate. So I think so too. If any two people can do a compelling 1 hour draw, it's these two. And it's happened in Joshi wrestling in the past. It's extraordinarily rare. I mean, 1 hour draws are extraordinarily rare anyway. And probably should be now. It's a different world as far as how people watch wrestling and all that. But they could do it, but I could see, Zombie Mayu powering her way through and getting a victory. But that's the way it feels because, of course, again, Stardom's really going to want Sareee to lose going into that Marigold show, I think. But Saree's got it all, man. She can work for anybody and slide right into a main event, and everybody takes it immediately seriously.
Yeah, Sareee showing up at the Marigold press conference the day before the Grand Queendom press conference was a lovely experience for me. As a big Sareee fan, I want her to be everywhere, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's her. If she had any percentage of winning, I just think it went down once that happened. If anyone's been following the past 2 months, it has been, not great between Stardom and Rossy Ogawa, obviously. So they're not gonna be jumping for joy to have the IWGP Women's title on the first ever Marigold show, I don't think.
No. And now let's talk about the red belt match. This is what's nominally the main event. We're going to talk about some other matches on the show too, but I figure this leads into it. So what is main eventing over Mayu and Sareee? And it is Maika, the current World of Stardom champion, defending against Momo Watanabe in a match with a bunch of stipulations to it that we'll talk about in a second. I don't have an issue with either one of these. These are both very talented people. I have thought for a long time that Momo is underutilized. She is an outstanding worker, one of the best, and I have no problem with her in a red belt situation, but man, she has been underutilized so long. I feel like it needed more of a role from her to get on more of a roll and get some more big wins before you put her in a red belt. Because say she goes on a run for 3 or 4 months where she's beating everybody, then this match feels better than it does right now. But we've been this thing where she's one of the people in a Oedo Tai tag team, one of the most talented, unquestionably. It doesn't feel like she has enough oomph as a challenger, Scott, and I want her to have the oomph.
Yeah. I love Momo, one of my first favorites when I got into Joshi. I think she's an incredible worker, and I think she has put incredible work in over this past month to heat this match up as much as she can, as quickly as she can. But you're absolutely right. This is the biggest show of the year. The Yokohama Buntai, huge venue. Even if it's smaller than last year's, still a huge venue that you need to pack in the house. Bushi Road was not always big fans of Momo Watanabe. That dates back a few years, reports wise. So that's part of the reason she doesn't feel heated up. Like, there was never I don't think there was ever a plan for her to be in the spot initially. Then, things change, and, the reported original main event for this show was supposed to be, I think, Suzu and Maika, had Suzu won the title, but obviously she didn't. So this is where we are. And that's why I thought Tam was the natural fit. They're asking a lot from these two. And, these two haven't been placed in a position to succeed, it feels like. This match was made official 3 weeks ago after Maika successfully defended the title against Megan Bayne. It was hinted at after multiple matches, but it wasn't official. So it was just tease after tease. Momo wanted a title match. Instead, Maika said, "Oh, I'll face Utami." Okay, Momo kept talking about that one. I'll face the winner of that. And then they do the Megan Bain thing. And then Momo's like, all right, I don't know what you want me to do. I'll wait for that too. And it's like, you're hurting your own main event by doing that. Momo and Micah are fantastic professional wrestlers. Well, let me take it back. I had no doubt in my mind that they would deliver in this big spot. However, we have a big stipulation here that puts a little doubt in my mind. Let's talk about that stipulation.
Yeah, talk about the stipulation here. What are exactly the rules to this one, Scott? And what it's one of those things that I get frustrated with a lot is let's take two excellent pro wrestlers and let's give them a stipulation that keeps them from doing the good pro wrestling.
Yeah, so it is a 3-round best 2 out of 3 falls. This kind of match is formally called a 3 stages of hell match. They're not calling it that, but that's essentially what it is. First match will be a singles match. The second match will be a hardcore falls count anywhere match. Okay. And the third match will be last woman standing.
So just on the surface, it feels like if you want to do this in the classic way, you have the even one-on-one match that the babyface should win. You have all kinds of protection for that babyface to lose the second one because she's Momo's part of the heel faction that can interfere. Again, on the surface, you can throw change-ups. And then you have the final war where somebody's left laying. So again, the issue with that is you're almost guaranteeing non-wrestling shenanigans in there somewhere in order to get to them. Yeah,
a lot of them. Listen, there's in the history of Joshi, heel factions and heel tactics have always been a thing, right?
Sure,
but
going back to Dump Matsumoto and all the way back to that, and Bull Nakano.
But it's hard for me to watch the current booking of this company and think they're taking from that and not the House of Torture. It's really hard. Now, Oedo Tai they haven't gone that extreme. And, disqualifications have happened in this company, unlike New Japan. But that's still something I fear. And when I saw all these rules, I said to myself, oh, there's going to be a lot. Oh, there's going to be a lot because there has to be a lot. It's just natural for a heel team to get involved with 2 matches that have stipulations like this.
It'd be nuts if they didn't. You'd be left sitting there. So what was the point of that if they didn't? That's the other side of it. Why do that stipulation if you're not going to have a Oedo Tai run in?
Exactly. So I've landed at this point. This match is either going to be so good that no one expected it to be that good because they just somehow were so creative and did something that, again, no one expected. They had a match that was compelling for all 3 falls. That's asking a lot. Or it's a disaster. There's no middle ground for me, I think, because it's asking a lot out of 2 people that have never done a match like this.
Especially if it comes after Mayu and Sari, which is the white belt match, which we're going to talk about pretty soon here, has the potential to really be a sleeper hit. So they have a lot to deal with on this.
Yeah, I'll just say this before we move on. Think of all the big shows that Stardom have done over the past years, the biggest shows of the year, right? You go back to All-Star, Dream, Cinderella in 2021. The main event of that was a hair versus hair match between Julia and Tam that had been built up for months. Okay? You go to Stardom Dream Queendom 2021. The main event of that match was Utami versus Shuri, a match that had been built up for months. Then you go to Stardom World Climax. You have very interesting matches. That was a 2-night event. They kind of did the New Japan thing. They did a match with Julia and Shuri, a natural match with natural story, and then they did Shuri and Mayu Iwatani, which is the best against the best, so that works. Queendom later that year, it's Shuri and Julia, a story that has been built for months. Then the next year, All-Star Grand Queendom, first time ever, Julia and Tam, all the history in the world. Then this past year, Suzu and Micah, built up for months. This match doesn't have that. It hasn't been built for months. It's been built for arguably 3 weeks. It's really tough.
Poor Micah, just snake bit in her red belt reign. the feed goes out or something else happens. It's all the attention's always on somebody else for this poor woman who's one of the best in the world.
And I think there's a chance she loses.
Yeah.
Because you want to talk about that House of Torture thing? What's better for Tam Nakano to come overcome? Micah, who, unfinished business, or the evil heel, Momo Watanabe? Got to think of it like that, too. I'm very 50-50 on this match, which might be a saving grace for this match. That's not a foregone conclusion, but
before we move on to the next match, got a couple of quick questions regarding some of the stuff we've talked about. Venkin's asking, didn't Sari have heat with Rossi like Aja Kong? Because I was confused, he said. I guess basically the question is, was there a reason Sari hadn't worked for Stardom when Rossi was in charge of it?
I don't think so. Not like Aja. Aja and Rossi have like deep history. Nothing like
right, and that goes back 20-some year, way before Stardom ever existed.
I mean, the reason Sari hadn't worked Stardom before was because of going to WWE, because she was going to. So I don't.
There you go.
It was nothing like Aja. Obviously, she's working Marigold too. So
yeah,
clearly there's not much too bad there.
So it wasn't that they've patched up anything. It just never worked out before.
I never knew of any heat like that.
Got it. And then Dunson's asking, is this the first time the red belt is in a gimmick match for the biggest show? They don't do a lot of these type of gimmick matches for not a ton, do they? I mean, they've done stipulations, but not a ton of these.
Definitely not one like this. No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think. Like, hair versus hair is the most I can think of off the top of my head. There have been like matches with stipulations, but not on a show this big. You know, like I'm sure there's been one, but I'm not of the past couple of years. It's been a very long time.
And hair versus hair matches as a whole has a long Joshi history, going back to Chigusa Nagayo getting her head shaved against Dump and all that stuff. That's to the 80s.
This is probably the first like full-on gimmick since 2018 when it was Kagetsu versus Hana Kimura. No count out, no DQ. That's just off the top of my head and re-looking, but like everything else is like the biggest stipulation has been like a hair versus hair, which was a Wonder Stardom title match ultimately, or like no time limit.
Okay. The other match, by the way, to keep an eye on is for the Wonder of Stardom champion. This is Saori Anou, who's fantastic, and somehow manages to be stoic and hilarious at the same time. If you ever watch some of the things they do in the back, videos from the back that they put up on social media and things, she just has a way of really hitting some comedy notes on those. And then in the ring, she's phenomenal. She's facing Hanan, who I believe is 19 years old. Hanan, is she 20 yet? 19. Phenomenal, and was good to begin with, and has made about 20, 30, 40, 50 yards of strides in the last year, and is becoming a future ace of the company. This is one of those where I feel like this one, Scott, sometimes you look back at a show and you think, okay, this wasn't the biggest match that night, but this match really had some historical significance. I feel like this is one we could look back and just think this match meant a lot to the future of the company going forward. So I think Hanan might be the one for Stardom in the future. Just my own opinion. And this could be the time of a bit of a coming out for her. Just my thought on that. What do you think?
Hanan is a budding superstar who I've had all the belief in for a very long time. And you started to see it in last year's 5-star Grand Prix. She was getting better and better and better and better. Since the start of the year, I kept saying, this is her year. This is her year to take that next big step, become a main event type talent. And boy, oh boy, has she done that. She wins the Cinderella tournament with by far the best run of the Cinderella tournament in years. Yeah. And now every match she has is just like must see because her efforts are unbelievable. She has convinced me that she should win. I don't think she's going to win because I think, Saori just signed a contract with this company. Yeah. And Saori makes a lot of sense to beat Natsu or to have the belt drop to Natsupoi still. Like, that's the natural story there. But man, Hanan has done a great job. And listen, she can still win by losing, if that makes sense.
That's the point I was just about to make, is that Hanan's job is not necessarily to win the white belt here. It's to show she belongs in these main event type of matches. And if she goes in there and goes absolutely step for step with Saori Anou on a stage like this, then you think nothing of her being in a top. Next time she's in a main event, you think nothing of it. It's what I said, what the match with Naito did for Yota Tsuji. Tsuji lost, but the next time he's challenging for the top title, you don't think twice about it. Yeah, okay, he's a guy that could be that. He could win. He's a main event guy, and that's where I think Hanan can get with this match.
I totally agree, and I hope in the end that is like what happens. Like, no matter what, win or lose, she is locked into that top role. She is someone that, come the 5-star, you could see win. Next time she gets the shot at this belt, she probably wins it. Like, that's the type of success I want from this match at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point too, because she is in Stars. The faction is Stars. Stars is almost certainly going to be without a leader someday. And, like, she could be it. She could be it. There are a lot of contenders for that. I mean, good grief, but could absolutely be. Also, a little prediction here. Just going to throw this one out here, Scott. What do you think? She has 2 twin sisters, Rina and Hina, who are working their way up. And I predict someday Hanan versus Rina is going to headline a major show for Stardom someday for that red belt or the white belt. Those two seem like they're destined to face off in some kind of classic as sisters. Oh
yeah, they keep them apart for a reason. Sisters, they keep them apart. Anytime they get in the ring together, it's something fun to watch. But it's a huge main event somewhere down the line, and it'll be great when we get there. I mean, Rena's obviously through the future reign done nothing but grow as well. So. It's exciting time with the sisters. They are showing and shining every single time out there.
Now, what is Tam Nakano doing at All-Star Grand Queendom? Well, look, we went through the good stuff. We got to talk about this. So Tam Nakano, instead of challenging Micah for the belt, she is teaming with Natsupoi. So far, so good. Just don't look at the right side of this graphic. The left side of this graphic, okay, Tam and Natsupoi together as a tag team. Great. It'll be against a couple of wonderful workers and have a great match. Look, Aja Kong is one of the all-time greats of this business. Aja Kong is not nearly as mobile as she used to be. She's quite old now. You just age out of that. There's only so much a person can do. And Aja's tag team partner in this one is a struggle on a good day. Scott, when I saw this one, I was baffled. I'm still baffled. What point are they trying to make here?
I don't know what point they're trying to make. But timing is everything, isn't it? Aja Kong on her first ever Stardom show.
Yeah.
Just a few months after Rossi Ogawa was let go.
That's obviously no coincidence. They have a heavy heat goes back 20 years. We understand that.
Yeah.
But from Meltier's point, Meltier's the name of Natsupoi.
Oh, it's terrible.
Look, if they win, what have they accomplished? If
they're not
lose,
gonna win. That's the problem. I am very ready for Natsupoi to be pinned by Aja Kong. And I don't like it. I don't like it. You and me talked about this when they had the old person pay-per-view.
Yeah.
How much I was uninterested in that last year. This somehow is worse than the pay-per-view, because this is all young talent on one. Well, all like the main event talent on one side, and it's not what I would have done with Tam. Truthfully, my thought process when Stardom Dream Queendom ended was that those two would be fighting for the top 2 belts in this company on this show.
Yeah. Saori Anou versus Natsupoi, Tam versus Micah. That's what where I felt it was going to go.
Felt like the way you pack the building.
Yeah. It's weird to me. It's just very strange. Aja feels like somebody who ought to be wrestling Tora Natsuko, something like that. Or I don't. Again, I just don't understand if Poi is going to go on to challenge, if Tam is going to be a main event. I just don't see a way out of this where two of your best stars look good. Even if they win, it doesn't look good. They beat up a couple of very older people that just aren't that mobile, and it's just it doesn't look good on the babyface side at all, and losing is worse. It's completely. Is this Taro Okada's inexperience showing through?
Yep. Big name you can book. Aja Kong's still a name that people still show up for. I've watched Aja Kong wrestle the past few years. While she's slower, she at least she can still do things.
She can't do what she used to do, but she's not awful. But
the other,
is awful.
Yeah. It sucks. Like, plain and simple. This sucks. I can't sugarcoat it. I really can't. I wish I could. I am not looking forward to it, but this is the way it goes.
Any other matches on Dream Queendom that we should be All-Star Queendom, excuse me, that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I think the Thrown Together tag title match will be great. It is Sue Suzuki and Mei Sarah versus Hazuki and Koguma versus Azumi and Miyu Amasaki versus Starlight Kid and Ruaka. Again, if I had the book, Azumi would be in a highlight singles match after the weeks that she just had with her appearances in Ring of Honor, AEW, and New Japan. They did the right thing with Mina Shirakawa. They did give her a highlight singles match. But this tag match, I mean, it has a lot of the best talent in this company. Suzu, Sarah, Hazuki, Azumi, Starlight Kid, they are going to bring the pace. They're going to keep it going. Also, everyone that's talking about I've been paying attention to the comments. The Azumi SLK thing. I think Azumi's going to be pushed very soon, but you have to remember, height is a thing. They do pay attention to that. Hanan is a tall, ace-like figure. Listen, I think Azumi and Starlight Kid are fantastic. I think they both should have probably already been champions, or at least in the main event spots. But that is something that I do think of when I see that comparison. But yeah, that's the match to watch because they're all so special. There's a lot of special talent in that match.
Yeah, SLK and Azumi, the thing, they're even for Joshi's, they're tiny.
They are. I think Azumi's going to be pushed very soon because of what she's done and the spotlight she's got. I think a lot of people like her, but Hanan's always been the one that's going to get the push when the time comes. And the time is now.
And Dunstan has a point here that's interesting. He said, I just had a funny thought. New Japan has a booker who peaked a long time ago, according to Dunstan right there. And it's hasn't been his best work this year. While Stardom has a new booker who has ideas but doesn't have the experience or foresight. Well, that's a way to look at it. I still have a lot of questions after the Rossi Ogawa stuff, finding out that Rossi freaking Ogawa didn't have all the power we thought he did within Stardom. Well, how much does Geto have then? Sure. Geto, who's not in position to say up yours to him the way Rossi did. And I talked about that with Chris Sampson a little bit. The ironic thing is Rossi got his FU money from Bushiroad. And they're the ones that made him rich enough that he could just go, screw you. I'm doing my own thing. I don't need you idiots anymore. That's just a paraphrase there. I'm not saying that that's the way Rossi was thinking or felt, but Geto doesn't have that. So he has less power than Ogawa did. And we know that Ogawa was messed with all the time now. So it's interesting now that, everyone's like, well, Rossi, he was hamstrung by Bushiroad, but Geto is now a bad booker. I think it's fair to ask where those lines are. How much is Bushiroad messing with Geto's plans? Maybe Bushiroad's got, we got these WWE guys. Aren't they big stars? Shouldn't we be pushing them? And we don't know. That's the key, is that we don't know what those conversations are behind the scenes there. We just know that Bushiroad will jump in when it feels like it needs to.
It's definitely difficult to not think Bushiroad has plenty of involvement in every part of their business, and something in confidence based off of having to watch Stardom the past year is that they don't know what they're doing. So
Yeah.
That being Bushiroad. They don't have a lot of wrestling. Io is definitely shorter than Hana.
Yeah, it was definitely smaller than Hana by probably about half a foot almost right there. So
Io's a very different wrestler, to be fair. Io was the superstar. Like that is, she's very different, but she's definitely shorter than Hana. Io had the charisma, she just, had everything. I'm not saying Starlight Kid and Azumi don't. I think they have a ton of things to offer. It's different.
Colin's telling us here that Stuart Fulton tweeted he'll be doing English commentary on the Stardom show with a special guest. All right.
That's cool.
Yes, it
do
is.
I still get my Japanese commentary? Because I like Japanese commentary. So do I still have my option here? That's good though, because a lot of people want that English commentary. So
it does help. So there's all that. Now, of course, as we found out earlier this week, I can't believe we've gone an hour and 10 minutes without mentioning this, but Bushiroad Fight, which is the little company they set up to buy Stardom, we're getting into a lot of accounting tricks here, has been purchased now and moved into underneath New Japan Pro Wrestling. So essentially, New Japan now owns Stardom, but they're all owned by Bushiroad. That hasn't changed. Yeah. If you're confused, I'd imagine a lot of this is accounting.
I can make it very simple.
Go ahead.
They didn't have a reason to have Bushiroad Fight anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Bushiroad Fight was literally just Stardom.
Yeah,
and now that Taro Okada was already a director for New Japan and the president of Stardom. Sorry, president of Bushiroad Fight. It just, like you said, kind of like the accounting thing. It just made sense to all be under the same umbrella now, which even more so. Obviously, they were both under Bushiroad, but now they are both in essentially the same office type thing, right? It's like now they can work schedules together and just be more cohesive. It felt inevitable, truthfully. The Bushiroad Fight thing didn't have much legs to it once Bushiroad was running every little bit of Stardom.
It just feels like an accounting maneuver more than anything actually changing in the way things are handled. But what I would advocate here, Scott, see what you think about this too. When we're talking about how they're going to coordinate schedules, maybe one of the ways that they could do things like that is make sure they aren't in the same town 1 week apart. And there's a couple of ways they could do that. You could either, the show on January 4th, the timing was a little off, probably should have been an hour earlier, but that worked. A lot of people showed up for that show. It seems to me like if they had a big Stardom show in Osaka the night before Dominion in the future, might be a smart idea, and make them weekends where, and hopefully you get people that go to the Stardom show and go to the New Japan show. And if you don't do that, if you're not having them back to back and almost market them as a bit of a package, maybe not literally, but I always have them kind of next to each other. Remember, Dominion on Saturday, Stardom on Friday, that type of stuff. At least try to make the shows in the same town, maybe a month apart. I feel like if they're a week apart, some people are going to choose one or the other.
Sure.
And now their audiences are different. I'm not, it's not all the same people out there. But if you put them either as part of a weekend package, here's a big New Japan show and a big Stardom show back to back. If you don't do that, then maybe have them a month apart in that town so that people can just say, I can budget to go to each of these.
Yeah.
Some might just be a smarter way of handling it.
Yeah. Like some people can't go to both shows, especially back-to-back weeks. But if they're going to go to both shows, you give them the weekend package, like you said. I think that's something that works. And I think it'll be simple as scheduling and things like that. Like it's not going to be anything that people notice. Listen, Bushiroad has already done the major changes that you'll notice. So this is like, when I woke up the other day, I was like, okay, like whatever.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a huge thing to me.
I saw people saying like, this is huge. I was like, it's not.
No,
huge thing that happened to Stardom happened 2 months ago. This is just, this is just whatever. So.
Yeah, it's not like all of a sudden Taro Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi are like, oh, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Now we're talking.
They already were working together. Now it's just easier.
Yeah. And USVA guy mentions many in the New Japan offices have worked in the company for 20 plus years. Bookers have a lot of people they work with. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a team effort. It's not like that bookers have 100% autonomy. Never really have since, Inoki did, but that was about it. Inoki could do whatever the hell he wanted, whenever he wanted, when he owned the thing and was the
Rossi
top
did
star.
when he owned it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But that's what you have to be, right? You have to be the owner booker to have autonomy.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. About any other thoughts on this whole, like, how would you maximize things in a way that they aren't doing currently?
Oh, well, I would make sure people know there's an IWGP Women's Championship.
Yeah,
that'd probably be a pretty cool day. I actually have a major fear. I do want to say this on the show that eventually they're going to get rid of the Stardom belts and just completely alter everything. Eventually, I do have
just
that
make
fear.
them the IWGP Women's Champion. Or
I can see that because they seem determined to get rid of anything Rossi connected. So those belts are obviously the ones that maybe a long time in the way, but like they love their IWGP, right? They love those letters, and I'm just gonna always have a major fear, like not immediately, but the more things go on, we'll see. As you can tell, my feelings regarding all this is very up and down right now. But hopefully this at least makes historic crossover easy to book if that happens again, like they said it would.
USP, guys, this merger will have major changes. We just won't see it for a while. Scheduling would be one that would take a while. I go back to what Chris Sampson told us, was that New Japan has already booked out their Korakuen Hall shows until 2025 because they have to. And so, you can't just make that's something that can't turn on a dime. That takes a year to make real scheduling changes. Venkin's saying they should retire the high speed belt and make it the IWGP Speed Champion. Yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff that we're a little bit concerned about.
If we're retiring the IWGP, if we're getting rid of the high speed belt, just give it back to like one of the people that previously had it, please. Whether that be Rossi or Natsuki Tayo. Thank you.
I like the high speed belt. I like that it does something different than the other, that the matches look different or feel different than the other ones. So I like that variety.
Sometimes it's the best title in the company. Sometimes. So.
And Dunson said they could advertise Stardom on New Japan shows and vice versa. Yeah, that I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of with that.
They could have done that before.
They could have, but there's
Bushiroad owned both of these. I just want everyone to remember that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are puzzling about this. Like that. There's a lot of things that have been puzzling about why they didn't. I've been saying, if you're going to have an IWGP Women's Champion, Dominion is a place where she absolutely should have a title defense, whoever the hell it is, and or Big Show, Dontaku. Like that's when these belts should be. But I guess the people that are listening to my show that are here, speaking of strong style, Scott, probably tired of me saying that point to death, but just a lot of missed opportunities. Maybe they'll
make it make sense.
Yes, there you go. That helps. All right. So with that, we're going to move away from Joshi here for just a moment and talk about some of the stuff that is coming up this weekend. Now we have two big shows. They're house shows that are all preview tags. Just, T-shirts will be on for those. Let's put it that way. But there are two shows that are going to be on NJPW World. One is Saturday in Hiroshima, and that's a Road to Dontaku show with 2 title matches on it. And then Satsuma no Kunai on that's on Monday. So we have a couple of things coming up. And in Hiroshima, and see, this is why I have to move around my graphics here. All right, so we have a couple of title matches, and the first one is the King of Pro Wrestling title. Now, I don't want to hear New Japan fans complaining about silliness in AEW or WWE when you have this match on a New Japan show. So here's what's going on with this. We have a King of Pro Wrestling match, Great-O-Khan against Yuya Uemura. Here are the stipulations. So I got to bring it up. Here we go. All right. I want to make sure I get this right because holy crap. It is a 3-stage thing. This is the local revitalization project of Great-O-Khan. It starts. Hiroshima is known for a lot of things, some of which we're going to cover in a wrestling show and some not. But Mazda car maker, the cars you all hear about, that's from Hiroshima. And lemons are from Hiroshima. That's not to do with Mazda. I was joking with Jeremy about this. Do they know the connotation between lemons and cars? Probably not. It's not a thing in Japan. But it used to be if you drove a bad car off a lot and it broke down immediately, you bought a lemon, so to speak. So I don't know if Mazda would want that connotation with them. But we have a Mazda car, not a car carrying contest. That would be impressive. Mazda tire carrying contest to start off this match between Great-O-Khan and Uemura. 4 Mazda car tires. First one to get them to the ring wins. After that, a Hiroshima lemon eating contest. After that, a tables match.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was complaining about my 3-stage match.
Yeah.
At least my 3-stage match has potential to be good.
Next New Japan fan that bitches about the Thanksgiving food fight on WWE TV, I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. And Venkin has a question. Do people like this? I don't know. Do people in Japan get into it? They've only done the one.
They must. They're the ones voting for it.
Yeah. I was going to say the fan. I don't know if they're trolling the company at that point, but it was kind of set up that way because Uemura's stipulation sounded really boring. And I didn't vote in this one. I set this one out. I don't know.
Well, Uemura, boring.
Yeah. USVA guy says they adore it. I don't know.
They must because they keep voting for it.
Oh God, the one with Tongaloa did go over like a lead balloon, though. I don't. Even the crowd there, I don't think was all that into it. But we'll see.
How do you feel about Yuya?
Potential, but he's not there yet. But he certainly has potential. He's a talented wrestler, but I don't think he's ripe yet. Not in the way he's almost as good as like Narita and Tsuji. Not quite there, but he's a little bit behind them in years in time anyway. He was about the next generation of young lion, I think, and he's about that far behind. I think if we get to him next year, a year from now, I think we'll be seeing a much better version of him. But he's just back from excursion like the others, but the others I think are a little bit further along in their progression.
Patience is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because the talent is there. He's just got to get some of the personality down a little bit, but
sure.
That's what I think about him anyway, but certainly potential there. Let's see. All right. Now the other title match, let's get on from this one quickly. The other title match is going to be for the Strong Tag Team Championships. And this is ELP and Hikuleo challenging TMDK. This will probably be a pretty damn good match. So they lost the titles, ELP and Hikuleo, in a 4-way match where they were not defeated for them. So this was the natural way to bring this one back and run it back with these two in a title match. I still think TMDK is going to keep them because I think they have plans for TMDK's story to go all through the year. I think this is going to have an impact on the World Tag League in December. This whole story of TMDK trying to get the eventually IWGP heavyweight tag team titles. But I think this one will be a good one. So if we have to stomach that KOPW match, this will cleanse the palate, I hope.
You think these two are leaving?
ELP and Hikuleo?
Or at least Hikuleo?
I mean, perhaps.
There's a lot of money waiting for him in another company.
There sure is. And I said, especially seeing where Tama Tonga ended up in one of the biggest angles in the entire business right now. Yeah, I mean, if he gets a phone call, he's answering it.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Sure. Oh, hell yes. Absolutely.
I know, it's money. But like if I'm him and I'm watching what they've done with my brother, it's like, and he's huge. So it's like they're going to love him too. I think ELP stays, though.
It feels like the best spot for him because I don't know. Like if he went to first, AEW is too cluttered.
He would not even do anything there. No offense to him, but he would be very outdone. If that, like, there's so much talent that it's, in my opinion, better than him.
Yeah, and I mean he's really good, but there's just so many people laying around catering at that joint. They can't see over each other. And then WWE, I don't know if he has the size, and it doesn't really make sense. I don't know where he would fit in. So
I think you're absolutely right with it. Doesn't make sense like that. I couldn't even see him there. Like I can't picture it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I think New Japan's the right spot for him, especially with like the spots that are open. It feels like his chance if he wants to try to be a top star, you know?
Yeah. And Venkin just says that Hikuleo could fit right into the spot of Jimmy Uso. It might end up being how things kind of go. You know, that could be the tag team war, is eventually the Usos versus Tonga Loa, or Tama Tonga and Hikuleo. And of those three guys, Hikuleo and Tama Tonga are the best two.
What a weird world.
Yes, it is.
What a weird world.
Venkin, are you saying, you're not saying that ELP could fit in the spot of Jimmy Uso, are you? No, he could not.
No, gotta be Hikuleo, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be Hikuleo.
I mean, that would be funny though.
It would be funny. Yeah, Tonga Loa
is part of God, but I don't think that's how the bloodline works. I'm sorry.
Oh boy, Tonga Loa. I don't know. Hikuleo's a lot better than Tonga Loa is. But anyway, this is a match here. I think TMDK is going to. You don't think so?
I did too. No, I think a lot of people think.
You know, yeah. What can you say?
I don't know how much wrestling experience you have, but you might be as well.
I've got a little bit, but I am not better than Tonga Loa. I am not.
I New Japan
got a little bit
tough.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
I feel bad for him, truthfully.
For Tonga Loa?
Yeah, you know, he was out forever, and now his brother left, and tough spot for him, obviously.
Yeah, just as he comes back, all that kind of goes away, you know, and his spot goes away, and he's left kind of, and he's kind of stuck. Again, he's in that God part that might be fading out. I don't know how much there is for, because if Hikuleo leaves, then you're left with Jado and ELP. What's that? You know, is that really
that ain't a faction anymore? That's when you say it's officially over.
Yeah, I would think so. And Venkin says, I mean, Tonga Loa and the Bloodline could be great. You can see an amazing. Okay, now you're trolling. Now you're trolling. Let's see. All right. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the week ahead. We mentioned that's what's going on in Hiroshima, and then a lot of preview tags. There's going to be that elimination match at the end with the War Dogs against LIJ. That's the elimination match with Jake Lee taking the spot of Ghetto. So he'll be in there with Connors, Maloney, and Finlay and Kidd against the LIJ team. We also have a couple other house shows. Those are not going to be on World. Like Fukui was today. They're going to Osaka tomorrow. After that, we also have the show Satsuma no Kunai. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Sorry about that. Satsuma no Kunai. Monday, April 29th. That's in Kagoshima. Now, this has two title matches on them. Sho versus Doki for the junior heavyweight title. We think it's a title match, but they did a little shenanigan at the contract signing, which angle alert whenever there's a contract signing.
It says it on the website.
It's what now?
It does say it's a title match on the website.
Yeah, they're facing each other in a preview tag on Saturday, so there might be another chapter to this before we get to Satsuma.
Gotcha.
Where Doki signed a contract that had been switched by Dick Togo, that bastard, and that says it is not. You just inserted the word "not" an IWGP title match. I don't know if President Tanahashi is going to stand for this type of chicanery. We'll see how that goes. But Sho is 3-0 in singles matches against Doki, and I kind of think that the Dominion thing will be where the Super Junior champion kind of overcomes Sho and House of Torture is probably the direction they're headed. So I think they'll probably continue the House of Torture role here with Sho against Doki, probably through both hook and crook, through illegal means is my guess. But that match is happening.
You sound happy about that.
I've come to terms with it. Here's where I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it if El Desperado wins Super Juniors and then beats Sho. Now you can talk to me. Okay. Then you can talk to me. There are a couple
had him lose. I agree.
There are a couple other contenders there, but I've been a Desperado fan since way before it was cool. When he was the guy that was the kind of understudy to Kanemaru, I was just like, that dude's really good. That dude's really good. And I was saying it, and everyone's like, who, that guy? What are you talking about? Now everyone's on to me now. So we'll also see the junior tag team titles. That'll be Drilla Maloney and Clark Connors facing Hiromu Takahashi and Bushi. This is another one that feels like a War Dog retention, just because Bushi doesn't really beat anybody right now. And they're telling the story that Hiromu was just on a almost historic cold streak for him going into Super Juniors to make him look vulnerable. He's won 4 of the last 5 of these things and the last 3 in a row. So I think they're just trying to give people the impression that this is a wide open field. So we're seeing juniors win matches on the undercard going up, except Hiromu Takahashi. And even Desperado's done a little bit of a job, because I think Hiromu and Despe are the runaway odds-on favorites going in. So they're trying to make Hiromu look weak. That just my guess. But those are the 2 junior titles on the line in Kagoshima.
They're lucky the Grand Master's not around. Just saying. The reigning defending Best of Super Juniors winner, Master Wato. I'm just saying. I hope Desperado wins too, if it matters, because he is my favorite junior, and I hate the way he lost the belt. Most importantly, I hated how that happened. So
yeah, I'm hoping it's a redemption story there.
Is his invitational after Dominion?
Oh, I believe so, but I'm going to double check that.
Should have him be champion at that show.
Yeah, that feels like a good idea to me. So let's see. There's something. I'm checking now.
Day after.
Yep, it is, isn't it?
That means he can't be champion because the finals are at Dominion. So never mind.
No, Dominion is June 9th and Despe Invitational is June 10th. He could win the title at Dominion.
Aren't the finals at Dominion?
Oh, the finals are at Dominion. Yep, it's the Super Junior finals at Dominion. So he might be going in with the title shot. He might be going in with the title shot in hand, but yeah, he will not be the champion there. Yep, you're right.
Odd.
And there's a lot of weird things going on here. There are. Yeah, so that is the case there. But let's get to some. Dunstan gave us a bunch of questions at the beginning, so I want to get to those before we wrap things up. So that's what's coming up this week. So when we come back next time, we will talk about Hiroshima. We'll talk about anything else that comes up, and Setsuma no Kuni. And we're hoping Jeremy is back with us. The other side of that is we will be previewing Dontaku, because Dontaku will be going on right after the next show here with us. He says, what are my thoughts of the attendance for the 2 Korakuen shows? They were weak. Like I said, both under 900. They didn't have good lineups. When I looked at these lineups, I thought, well, okay, we're going to get an angle out of this because it's a Korakuen Hall show. But they weren't very exciting lineups. It was just a whole bunch of sick. I mentioned one of those nights, a 6-man tag was the smallest match on the entire card. 6 guys involved. That was the smallest match. It's just not.
That makes me sad. Korakuen Hall is my favorite venue in professional wrestling.
It's amazing to be in. It's amazing to be in that building.
And I think it's the main reason I watch all these other promotions, because for them, Korakuen Hall is the big show. It's the show that they put the big title matches, and it's so amazing because the crowds are so great. And it makes me sad when New Japan doesn't try at them. When they do try at them, it's amazing, right? Yeah. Like when Best of Super Juniors, the G1's happening, always an amazing show. It elevates everything, in my opinion.
There you go. No, I agree with you. And it's usually they do some sort of an angle at it. So we got the Jake Lee thing. They try to make it a little bit special. New Japan is theoretically outgrown Korakuen as a big show venue. Stardom kind of sort of has in a way too. They've been doing their bigger shows elsewhere, and that's a badge of honor. When Korakuen is doesn't have to be your big show, of course. But yeah, I agree. It is sad when people don't turn up, but those lineups were rough. They had a utilitarian thing. It was just for storytelling purposes, but on paper, those lineups weren't sexy at all. Who do I think right now is a contender to win the G1? Well, we mentioned it's Naito if he's not the champion. If he is, I would say Zack Sabre right now, but we don't know who's in it yet. So what's missing in the tag division? Is it better stories or in-ring quality? I think it's probably more stories than quality. I think they're good tag teams. They just haven't had much of a focus on it. I'll tell you too, by the way, I mentioned the Sangha and Veer, who I think could be good in New Japan. The Grizzled Young Veterans are free, and they'd be phenomenal in New Japan. That should be a tag team they should bring in from England, the Grizzled Young Veterans.
Do you know where they're going to be on Saturday?
No, I don't. Where?
They are appearing in AEW on Saturday for the first time. So
there you go. More reason they should be in World Tag League right there.
They're great. They're a great duo.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
My thought with the tag thing is, maybe just less Kenta and Chase Owens.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. I think we're going to move on from them. I think we're moving on from them.
But start putting new teams together. Even that's never a bad thing. New teams are good.
That's where Uemura could shine if they put him in with the right guy in a tag team, like Sonata and Uemura.
Mind him and Sonata that first try. I thought they did pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah, I think that could be a team going forward. I think they could do that. What else are you going to do with those guys? Really? I mean, we tried the Sonata thing as champion, and no thanks. Uemura is not ready for it yet. I think Taichi could be a contender. I'm not saying he's an IWGP World Champion. That's not what I'm trying to say. But as somebody who could be the top singles guy in that group, he could do that anyway. Awesome. After rewatching Sakura Genesis this year, outside of the three-way and main event, it lacked excitement compared to last year. Well, I think we talked about that at the time. It did. Yeah, it wasn't their strongest. Dontaku's shaping up. There's some good stuff at Dontaku. What's the best to least option to win BOSJ and the G1? Well, we talk about G1. Super Juniors, I still think this could be Desperado's finally gets crowned. Watch out for Francesco Akira, because if TJP is going to move on to the G1 and up to heavyweights, then Akira needs to be a single star. And also, I do think they have big plans for Fujita. Maybe not this year, but Kosei Fujita, I think, has the potential to be a top dog in that division. Your thoughts, Saturn?
I think Kosei is amazing. I love him. I know they won't go too far with him this year yet. Yeah. But I would just like to see him get a big win. And he's actually the person I'm most excited about in the tournament.
I'm definitely interested to see the blocks. We'll know a lot more when we see the blocks. That'll tell us who's going to really be in contention at the beginning there.
Yeah.
And Venkin just asks, is Moxley facing the entire Don Callis family before facing Ren Narita now, or what are they doing?
Besides Ospreay, probably.
Yeah, he's not going to face Ospreay for that one. But that could be a match down the road someday. That Ospreay and Mox in some sense for.
Oh, I'm sure Tony Khan is very happy he has that match.
Yeah. But that. The Powerhouse Hobbs thing was just, I think, a match that he could win, and it furthers along an AEW storyline. I never really thought that was a New Japan.
Very unfortunate that it ended in injury.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. I felt very bad for Hobbs because ultimately, despite all the conversation online, that was still the biggest match he's had. It was an IWGP World Title match. That's a lot of eyes were going to be on it because I'm sure it'll be up on New Japan World and just deflating ending. But I mean, people will love Moxley versus Takeshita. People love that. People are not going to have a problem with that.
That'd be great.
I'm sure that'll be pay-per-view or something.
Venkin says they're not going to give us Moxley Ospreay unless it's in Wembley or something. Yep, it's going to be one of those type of shows. Yeah, that's going to be a monster. You're exactly right. That's going to be a monster thing. What did you think of Okada being part? He didn't do it, but Okada partially killing Tony Khan. If Tony Khan is not in a neck brace at the NFL draft tonight, I'm rioting.
Did you already see the picture of him?
No. Did you do it?
Hold
is
on.
he selling it?
Hold on.
Tell me he is. For the folks, I don't know. For the folks who are not NFL adjacent, we've got some people from the UK here. The National Football League draft is tonight, which again sounds strange to folks who watch soccer, European football, all that kind of stuff, world football. But the draft is a big deal. And Tony Khan, of course, his dad owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Tony pretends like he's in charge of things with the Jaguars. But and then he's apparently going to be at this draft. And again, he just got killed by Huey, Dewey, and Okada last night, and Jack Perry. So I want to see him sell this thing. There it is. God bless you, Tony. Attaboy.
That's a real worker right there.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, I'm about an hour away from sweating the NFL draft, so wish me luck.
I'm a Bears fan. I know what's going to happen. This is bizarre.
See, that must be nice.
Well, I mean, it's not nice being a Bears fan much, but at least we know we're getting Caleb.
Yeah, at least you know what you're getting. I'm a Patriots fan, so
Oh, cry me a river.
Well, no, but like I'm
Are
scared. I'm scared about what
Hey,
they're doing
hey,
tonight.
Colin at home. Don't you feel sorry for these Barcelona and Real Madrid fans when they don't win that one year, or Bayern Munich for a year? Oh my God, these poor people. How do they ever get up in the morning? I can't
Hey,
imagine.
listen, I'm trying to get used to this part of it. Okay, God.
You have the Celtics. It's going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
They were not good last night. It was,
They'll be fine. They'll be okay.
I hope so. I hope so. But you know, future of the franchise is decided tonight. A little scared.
Yeah, and I mean it's going to be like that for the Bears too. So we're either going to kneecap
I
ourselves.
feel
For the
pretty
next
good
5
about
years.
you.
I like Caleb Williams a lot. I'm excited. All right. So with that in mind, is there anything else we should cover here, Scott, that we didn't, or are we ready to wrap this one up for this week? We're at 1 hour and 40 minutes. Did okay there.
I think everyone should watch Marigold on May 20th. That is something everyone should keep an eye out for. I think it's going to be very good.
If you didn't have a Wrestle Universe subscription already, by God, now is the time, because that's it's going to be on that. And this is something I'm fascinated by. I think this is something that could really help Joshi Wrestling to have these. There are already more than one good promotion in Japan, but to have something with this kind of firepower behind it, so to speak, with Utami and Julia and Rossi Ogawa, just the gravitas that this company has immediately. It can push, it has the potential to push Stardom to be better, which can make Marigold better. And, you know, when you have companies neck and neck with each other, that's when you really get the good stuff. And I think
competition is always good. You've seen it with AEW and WWE, have you not? Well, everyone's watched WWE have to wake up after 20 years of slumber because of AEW.
And really, I mean, I'm trying to think of what was the last time there were two really strong Joshi promotions at the same time. Was it JWP and All Japan Women?
Has to be. I mean, I know.
And look what we got out of that. Holy crap. Like some of the best
Right.
stuff you have ever seen came out of that.
Exactly.
When they would do cross promotions or just their own. I mean, that was the Manami, Toyota, Aja Kong, Bull Nakano, Kyoko Inoue, and JWP had Kansai and Mayumi Osaki and Kitty Suzuki. And those companies were on fire because they were pushing each other.
Yeah, this is the closest we're going to get to that, I think. And, you know, by the sounds of it, both of the companies are working with people to help them out. So that can only, we'll see how that goes as well. I don't know I don't know how I feel about that yet, but Julia is the most interesting case in wrestling right now. I'll just say that.
Well, I agree with you there. And I think everyone's going to be very, very curious to see what happens when she finally does go to the big guys, the big Fed, I mean, and see what they do with them. I've expressed reservations before to you privately in conversation that she's going into that. If she goes to NXT, she's going into the hands of a guy who had no clue what to do with Suri. And that's worrying, and bumbled that off to, and I don't think Sean's good at his job, but he mows Hunter's lawn now and picks up his suits for him from dry cleaning. He is going to attach himself to the leg of Triple H. Those roles have reversed. Triple H used to be the little buddy. Now Sean's Triple H's little buddy. He ain't letting go, and Triple H ain't going to shake him off. So we're stuck with this. But if they send Julia to NXT, I'm a little bit worried for her because that guy does not know how to do this.
So, based off of what Dave's report was, what was it, 2 weeks ago? It sounds like she's going to NXT essentially so that she can do both for a little bit, which is the most confusing thing. It's a one of a kind deal. That is what I'm starting to figure out.
So is Orlando the only place that has an airport with connections to Japan? I'm pretty sure I flew out of Dallas when I went.
They want her to also learn the WWE style. So,
no, thank you. All right. Well, look, let's jump off that bridge when we get to it. We're not at that point yet.
Enjoy the beginning. Enjoy the beginning of Marigold. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. No, you really should, though. This is an exciting time for Joshi Wrestling and Japanese wrestling as a whole right now. I mean, I have a feeling the landscape of all of this is going to look very different in a year. Like we're going to look back at where we were a year ago in 2025 and just think, wow, like what a road that was, because I think all of these companies are going to look quite different.
The Pyro scene and Joshi scene are changing dramatically. right now. We're in the midst of it, right? Obviously, Puro's been ahead of it once Okada left. They've been going through their ups and downs. No one's leaving like that for Joshi. Like there's no Okada comparable, but Julia is leaving. But also a new promotion's being created. So that's competition, that's excitement. I think you're absolutely right. Call us in a year. We'll see how we're doing.
Final question for you, Scott, before we start plugging our stuff, because I know you've got a million things to do. But any word yet on if the Mayu Iwatani movie Runaway Wrestler will be available in internationally or with any kind of subtitles, or are we just kind of hoping for that in the future?
Nothing official yet, but okay. I would count on it one way or the other. I think they know their audience enough, and worst comes to worst, it gets on some sort of service and automatic. So, it's just like I'm hoping for anything at this point. Yeah. It's like a movie I really want to see. I know her story, so it's not going to be brand new to me, but I want to see it how they unfold it. The trailer looked great. I'm ready to start like a campaign. Let's pay someone to do the subtitles. Like it's going to be a lot of money, but listen, I'll do it. If enough people pay that are interested, won't be that expensive for all of us. But
we can crowdsource this maybe.
Well, let's hope. It looks really good, though. Looks really well done for a movie about a wrestler that not the whole world knows about yet, but more and more.
Hopefully they will. She's really phenomenal. So, with that in mind, Scott, go ahead and plug your stuff, man. You've got multiple shows. Stardom Road is the history podcast that I love. I absolutely think you do a fantastic job. You try with that one, especially for somebody who is. It'll help you understand Stardom now even better. Mm-hmm. And that's always fun. And then you have the 5-Star Joshi show. So go ahead and plug your stuff.
Yeah, check out the 5-Star Joshi show right here on the Fight Game Media Network. New episode already out this week. Usually it releases on Fridays, but I got it out early this week so everyone could hear the All-Star Grand Queendom preview. We talk about every match. I give all my thoughts. Lots of fun there. That drops every week. I will have a review up sometime next week, probably early as well. Stardom Road. New episode came out today. Part 2 of the Utami Hayashishita title reign. World of Stardom title reign. Timing is everything, isn't it? Pretty good time.
It really is.
Put that one together. The first part is up until the Shuri match. Second part is up until the end to talk about her legacy. Lots of fun there. We have a lot of great episodes from the past. I think we're headed on episode 40. So the beauty of that podcast, you can go back and listen to anything. It's always good to listen to. And if you want to check out my interview with Utami Hayashishita over on Fightful.com, that's always cool too, about her leaving Stardom, the potential of wrestling Io Sky, who's been her dream opponent ever since she got into wrestling. Talk about maybe finally wrestling Julia, maybe, finally, hopefully, and so much more. So, yeah, check all that out.
It's really unbelievable they managed to be in Stardom that long for the same amount of time without running into each other in a singles match. That's pretty amazing, actually. And now Rossi gets it.
Yeah. It's the biggest match that never happened so far.
Yeah.
In Stardom history. Well, it definitely isn't going to happen in Stardom, but it could still happen, and we're hoping it does.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So with that in mind, keep in mind, folks, Fight Game Media Network, we have all kinds of programming for you covering all types of professional wrestling. There's the Dynamite show right after Dynamite. Keep in mind, Power Bombshells, our sibling show, will be on at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. A lot of really good content from Sam and Mel. Always enjoy that show. And Paul Fontaine's show now about how people fell in love with wrestling. All that stuff's on you. You got the rap. You've got so much other stuff. The Triple G show, Double G show, Triple G. What am I talking? That's a boxer. Never mind. Garrett Gonzalez, for the love of God. Boy. I think it's time I got out of here. So all that stuff's on the Fight Game Media Network. We got you covered. You can't watch all of it. It's impossible. There's too much good stuff, but we can at least help you keep track of all of it here at Fight Game Media. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all those things. Leave us reviews. So with that in mind, thank you so much, Scott, for filling in, man. Really appreciate it. Always fun to get your thoughts on New Japan, Stardom, Joshi as a whole. Just really appreciate your time.
Hey, happy to be here anytime you need me. Thank you for letting me join you for a little bit. And obviously, thank you to Jeremy as well. I know he's not here, but good. Hope he's doing well, and I'll leave you to it. I'll leave you to wrap this
All
up.
right. So with that, hopefully Jeremy will be back next week. But for Scott Edwards, I'm Stephen Conway. Thank you for watching and listening to Speaking of Strong Style, and we'll talk to you again real soon.